everybody. And this is an affirmation of truth that no matter whatever you have been told, you are sacred love. You are sacred life. Sing along with us this morning. Yes. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are deepest joy. Deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy. Deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are blessed peace. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. And lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are.
Will the prayer chaplain please bring the prayer box forward?
This is our prayer box. We keep it in the back of the room so that it's always available for you to put your prayers on a piece of paper and put them in the prayer box. They'll stay here at Unity on the Mountain for about 30 days, and then we'll send them to Silent Unity at Unity Village, where they'll be prayed over there for another 30 days. So let's just each take a moment. Breathing deeply, let us enter that place of stillness that is within us. And then lift up these prayers in gratitude for their fulfillment to the highest good of all. And for this we say thank you, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
The words for today is let go, let God. I let God be God in me. Meiser Eckhart, the 14th century German mystic, taught, all that God asks you most pressingly is to go out of yourself and let God be God in you. Reflecting on Eckhart's word, I remember that whatever I am doing, I need never feel frustrated by the limits of human wisdom and understanding. Letting go and letting God reminds me that God's presence is with me throughout every experience of life. God's love, life, wisdom, understanding, and strength are mine. Even my inner power of release works through me whenever I call upon it. My human self, together with the indwelling presence of God, the Christ in me, brings good into my life. Together, let us say the affirmation, I let God be God in me.
I let God be God in me.
And the scriptures from John 14:10. The words that I say to you, I do not speak of my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his work.
And now for our Lord's Prayer. And we've been exploring different versions of the Lord's Prayer. So what we'll do is do the traditional version, and then we'll do another version immediately following. So if you would with me. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Our Father, who is as is throughout the universe, everywhere. Your name is sacred, your kingdom is come, your will is throughout the earth even. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive us our offenses, even as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error. Because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song and praise, from all ages, throughout all ages, sealed in faith, trust, and truth.
All right, good morning, everybody. So happy to be here with you. I hope that you've started out the year of 2020. Everybody's saying it, but it's true, with 2020 vision, seeing yourself more beautifully as an expression of God, an expression of life and of light. So we're going to have a time of prayer and meditation. Sometimes we call this contemplation. It's sometimes made to sound too complicated, but it's simply quieting your thoughts, allowing your body to become still, and listening to the silence. Just being with the presence of who you are. So I'd invite you just to allow yourself to become still in your chair, in the pew you're sitting in. And to consciously begin to breathe deeply. Watching your breath as it comes into your lungs. And watching as it leaves your body. Use this breath, watching it consciously, as a mantra, the focal point, as we begin to turn our thoughts away from the outside, temporary world to the inner, eternal world, the only true thing about you. the spirit of life that is within you, encased within this temporary physical body. For you have access to this part of you that is timeless and ageless, forever loving, forever loved, innocent, holy. No matter where your life's journey has taken you, the essence of who you are is still exactly as God created. And in the stillness and in the silence, we reconnect with this vital energy, this truth, this love that you are. And there's no way that you can ever be separated from this love, because you are this love itself. And as we reach into this inner life, we become more acquainted with our true essential self, which is vibrant and healthy and alive, safe, held in the hands of grace, perfect and holy and complete. As you continue to breathe, just give yourself permission to become present here in this moment. Everything's going to be done, get done. No matter what you may be thinking of or any thoughts that may be distracting you, just as best as you can, bring all of your energy and attention and focus here and now. For everything you need is right here in this moment. And you are exactly where you're supposed to be. It is impossible to be out of the mind of God and somewhere where you shouldn't be, for everything is unfolding exactly as it should. So just relax and trust. Just as the beautiful daily word said today, let go. Just let go and allow and let God. For this energy and this life that is within you is always guiding you, always leading you. It's up to you to listen to this word, this voice, or it is the very voice of God. So continue to breathe, just watching your breath, bringing all of your focus here and now to this holy instant. For this gathering today is a holy encounter, orchestrated by this presence called life. And just as you are relaxing, see if there's any tension that still may be in your body. Letting go of any tension in your legs. Any tightness you may have in your abdomen, just let that go. Let your shoulders gently drop with the natural force of gravity. Let go of any tightness or tension in your neck, your forehead. Begin to feel your face soften. Becoming still. Relaxing, surrendering to this moment. Breathing in the breath of God. Breathing in the life of God. Becoming centered here and now. Now take a moment to see what thoughts may be there in your mind. What ideas are popping up trying to distract you from the stillness. Just allow those thoughts to be there without judgment or resistance. To become aware that you have the choice, you have the power to let these thoughts fall away. Fall away into the nothingness from where they came. some of these repetitive thoughts that just continue to run through our mind. We can allow ourselves to slow down. Allow your mind to unwind and become still and quiet and empty and open. And the thoughts appear, just allow them to be there and gently let them fall away as best you can. Allow yourself to become empty. Empty. Gently begin to notice the space between your thoughts. This space of nothingness, of emptiness. This space is a gap, an opening, a gateway into your vast inner life. It is a gateway into the real you, the essential self that you are. That in this very moment is vibrant and alive and creative and holy and timeless and ageless. This is who you really are. This is the only thing that is real about you. So allow yourself to be still, empty, moving into the beautiful space of nothingness as we rest here in the silence. For this time together, we are so grateful from this sacred place of stillness. We remain as we listen and open our hearts and our minds, knowing that whatever needs to be said will be said. Whatever needs to be heard will be heard. As we all continue to awaken and remember the truth of who we are as the beloved. Holy extensions of God, created in the image and likeness of love. Spirit, for this time together. For we know this is a holy encounter. Thank you, God. And so it is.
Amen.
Let's all do one big deep breath. Doesn't that feel good?
Yes.
I believe that Jesus and other masters spoke about the experience that we just had, and in different ways, talking about the stillness and the silence and turning away from the world. And there's a scripture that talks about being in communion with God, and what I think that really means, and I think that's what will happen as we continue to evolve in consciousness and really recognize who we are, is that we will not have times of meditation. We won't sit down and say, okay, for this time we are going to sit and be still. That our entire day and our entire life will be a connection to the divine, and we will simply walk through life in this permanent state of meditation. Wouldn't that be great? I'm not there yet, because I still honk my horn at people if they try to cut me off on the side of the road or whatever, cut me up in the highway. So we all have a ways to go. But doesn't that sound lovely? I think that it's somewhat of a goal for me to think that that's even possible. You understand what I'm saying? Is that you would just get up and immediately you would not let any of some of those horrible thoughts that we tell ourselves, that they just don't exist, and you just go right into the connection and say, thank you, Spirit, I've opened my eyes. Here I am still in this place, in this experience. What can I do for you today? How can I serve? And the whole day is just spent in the feeling that we just had. Wow, wouldn't that be cool? I think it's possible. And we're all on a journey, individual journeys of getting there in different ways. So yesterday we had such a wonderful time for the people that came to the, I used to call them workshops, and I'm getting to where I don't like the word work at all, and I think it should be eliminated from our vocabulary. I mean, we have tasks we have to do, but they don't have to be considered work. They can be done with joy, right?
That's right.
And sometimes we associate work with like being at a job, all day long. Sometimes that job we don't like. So instead of a workshop, we call it a play shop, which I love, Jackie, that you said, if there's any childlike energies here, whatever you said, and I'm one of those. I love that. Isn't it weird to think, I don't feel as old as I am. I still feel like the same person I was when I was 18.
Yes.
I really do. Like behind my eyes. And it's not until I look at my friends on Facebook from high school that I go, oh my God, they're so old. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm their same age. It takes a minute to like kick in. But isn't that cool? I mean, if you would have told me, there's a milestone happening in my life right now. 30 years ago, I bought a house in Nashville when I first got in the music industry, and I made some money. And it's the last thing I wanted to do at that age. I wanted to live in a singles apartment complex and party. And when the financial investors came and said, let's invest some of this money rather you just like, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to do this. And so thank God I don't even remember this person's name, but I don't even know if he's still here with us, but thank you, whoever you were, that said, let's invest this money because I bought that property 30 years ago next month, and so it is paid off. All of a sudden, we have a debt-free home, which is really strange. It's like those 30 years, and I'm thinking in the same way, wow, this is crazy. It's just occurring to me right in front of your eyes, in front of mine too, is that through a whole series of events, my car is now paid off. So all of a sudden I have a new paid off car and a new paid off house. How did that happen? I'm not even really sure. It's just occurring to me. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, life. And the reason I'm telling you that story is it's exciting for that to happen. But I remember when I got the mortgage, and let's see, I was 26. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this will not be paid off, Jackie, until you're like 56 years old. You're going to be so old. You're going to be paying on this till you're. So I remember having that thought distinctly and just thinking, oh, I'm just going to feel old, and what will I look like? And I'm just going to feel, you think you're going to feel different when you get old. I don't know, but we have perceptions about what it's like to grow older. And the amazing thing that I'm finding, like 30 years just went, and I'm here, and I still feel like that 26-year-old. It's that playful energy within me that I'm so grateful that I got from my parents and from the spirit that, we hold within us, because spirit is infinite. Spirit knows nothing about declining and growing old. That's our stupid idea. Decline and growing old is our stupid idea. Spirit is always vibrant. I have a wonderful picture of my parents at a ministers' conference, because they were Pentecostal ministers. Many of you have heard me talk about them. I have one of my favorite pictures in all of life is them. They were probably in their early 60s. I have a picture of them jumping on the bed together in a hotel room. And they're like 60 years old, and this is starting. You see this look on Mom's face, and I say, no wonder I act so crazy all the time. I'm always a prankster. And so it was just a milestone to think, wow, all that time just went by, and I still feel this joy and this creativity and this inspiration. And that's what the workshop was about yesterday. It was called You Are Creative Genius. And that's the talk title today, because we're taking some of those thoughts forward to today. And some of the people that were there yesterday were here, some of the things we went over, and they're going to be sharing something really special with you after a little bit. But in the workshop, the reason I was inspired to do this Playshop, we don't say work anymore, I got to remember that. In this Playshop, I talked about creativity and what it means and how we can use it and how sometimes we block it. And sometimes we get ideas, for instance, out of the realm of the work that we normally do that are very creative, but we squash them away. And I'm going to give an example of that in just a moment. About myself being a musician and an idea that I have, but creativity can come in all kinds of forms. And sometimes we just overlook it. And even if we get a great creative idea, our little small supposed limited self, which is an illusion, starts saying like, how could you do that? How are you going to afford this? Where could this be? How is this going to happen? That's not our job. Our job is to be the beautiful creative beings that we are. And when we get a great creative inspiration, I believe that the source of the presence and the source that comes from, if it's smart enough to give you a great idea, it's definitely smart enough to give you the ways and means to have it come true. I mean, that would be a pretty cruel presence to say, hey, I've got this great dream for you, you're on your own. I'm going to go have lunch. But most of us don't trust in that process. The first thing we do when we get a great creative idea is we start thinking those thoughts. How can I afford this? That sounds crazy. You may get an idea that says, why don't you open a full-service vegan restaurant with a yoga studio in the back? As an example. And the first thing you're going to say is like, man, property's so high in Huntsville right now. How can I... Stop. If you take the next step and you trust in the creative process, and you will begin to realize that you are a creative genius. And Einstein, who is supposedly the smartest man that ever lived that we know of, they said he was so smart, and this is kind of gross, but it's true. They kept his brain and dissected it and looked at it.
I saw that.
Yeah, did you see that? It's true.
Right.
Yeah, it's a true thing. They said maybe there's something in his brain. See, that's a Matrix moment. Matrix. So they dissected his brain to see if there was something in there, or some kind of something going on, and it just looked like a brain. There was nothing special about it. They said, why is this man so smart? And yesterday I pointed out to everyone at the Playshop, and I would suggest you do it too, Google the words spiritual Einstein quotes. And you'll go past all the math quotes, and you'll get to how much he moved into a state of spirituality towards the end of his life. Because the more he worked on physics and quantum physics and the theory of relativity, he began to realize that there was a force, there was this thing that, and some call it God, some call it whatever, but there was this thing, and he talked about it in very cool, intelligent ways. And one of the things that he said, which I love, he said, everyone is a genius. Okay, so the smartest man that ever lived said, you are a genius, and you are a genius, and you are a genius. He said, everyone is a genius. But if you try to teach a fish how to climb a tree, you'll always call him stupid. And I mentioned yesterday, this is kind of off the subject, but it's something that he said, is that that's why I think our education system doesn't work, is because we try to take children
who all have varying degrees of ways that they learn, and try to put them in a little box and say, here, read this book and take a test. And not all children learn that way. And what I see for our future is that children, we trust their own intuition, and we allow them to go into learning situations that best help them bring out their own genius, because it's not going to come out in that way. Now, some kids excel at school. They're supposed to be there, but not all do. And, you know, people tell us, professionals tell us that if you look at Einstein's life and all that he did and the way he behaved, he would definitely have been diagnosed with ADD and given Ritalin. And God forbid that would have happened, because, you know, when you're given a drug like that, you do chop off some of the lows, but you also chop off some of the highs. I noticed, as just a side note, and this really has to do with creativity, in my 20s, because I didn't understand the laws of the universe yet, and I was still struggling with the religious beliefs I had a lot of anxiety and depression. And I went to a doctor about it, and a therapist, and I was resisting going on any kind of drugs, but I finally had to. And I went on a drug for depression. And I actually felt pretty good, but what I noticed, there was this horrible, horrible, horrible side effect. Before then, you know, I wrote songs, and I was signed to a songwriting deal at a really young age up in Nashville. All of a sudden I noticed that my creativity was chopped as well. I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, what's going on here? It did help me feel better, and I wasn't as anxious. I'm like, hey, everybody, all is well with the world. But I just wasn't inspired to write a song. And I began to realize that I had to find a way to live in the world and still maintain my own creativity. And be able, so I did eventually wean off of that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with taking something if you need it temporarily. Some of us are just trying to hold on, you know, we try to be strong and stuff. Some of these drugs are perfect to be used for the right reason when necessary. So none of us should feel bad or shamed if we're dealing with mental illness. None of us should. None of us should. Everyone has some degree of anxiety and fear. And so, and I say that because I wasn't ashamed. I didn't tell anybody I was taking that drug until way later in life, and I felt more confident. There's no shame in that. But it helped me, when I got off of that though, it helped me to move into creating a bigger well of creativity and listening more, and creative ideas would come to me, and songs started coming up again, and I was like, whoa, this is great. And what's so perfect about that is right about that time is when I found the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is a very similar idea as Unity. And if you're familiar with that, it's David Leonard's church across the city here, which I consider a sister church to Unity, and they're all over the country. I found this group, and then eventually found Unity as well, and I was thrilled to find the perfect mix of how my music that I could write from my heart would fit in a genre of people who were open to receive it. I didn't know there was people that wanted to hear the music I was writing, because I was writing from my soul. I was writing songs like the song In the Silence, and some of the songs you sing, like We Come Together, and just various ones. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. And that's what led me to eventually become a minister, was listening to that creative voice. Because let me tell you something about creativity and moving forward with a creative life. You don't always know the answer or the outcome to something that's happening in your life. In other words, many times if we get a creative impulse, we want to know right off the bat, well, where's this leading to? Where's this leading to? And many times if we live a creative life where we're just trusting in the process, we don't know the answer to that. Okay? And I learned a big lesson when I started writing these songs. And let me tell you this quick story, because I have to remind myself about it. I was writing all these songs from my heart, and I thought no one will ever hear them. They're just for me, because I was from the hardcore music industry, you know, and I was like, no one even wants to hear songs about being in the silence and about abundance. I mean, they're just going to laugh if I take these in, and I never took them in. And I went down to Mobile to see my parents during the Christmas holiday many years ago, and I went to the Center for Spiritual Living there in Mobile, and I went to this candlelight service, and it was so beautiful, and I loved the message, and I still know their minister. She's still there after all these years. And someone got to sing, and I just have to be honest with you, it was horrible. I mean, she sounded like a wounded pig. I mean, and it just, because especially since I'm such a musician and I'm so attuned to that, I was like, So I went up to the minister afterwards and I said, look, I have to be honest with you. As a newcomer that's just come here, I said, the message was beautiful when you guys lit candles and we're talking about the oneness and the beauty of all this. I went into tears. I said, when that music started, I just wanted to run out of here. I said, I bet if you put your head outside, there's no dogs left in this county. They have all fled. And she said, well, Mr. Smarty Pants, you just come here to judge us? I said, no, I'm here to help you. I said, I'm a professional songwriter and I'd love to write some songs for you and for your congregation. And she didn't know who I was. She just thought I was some whatever. And I said, well, what do you need? She said, I need an opening song, and I need a song for the offering, and I need a fun song to sing at the end so we don't have to keep doing the darn peace song. And I said, okay. And I went and wrote 5 songs that afternoon. And those 5 songs, I was tricked by Spirit to write those songs because those 5 songs became the beginning of a CD I was going to make that I didn't even know about yet for 3 years after that point. And because I didn't think I was doing a project, the songs came out fast. When we put it in our mind, I'm going to sit down and be creative and either paint something or do a project, sometimes that cuts it off. So I'm like, hey, I'm just sitting here, la, la, la. And I wrote 5 songs, and those songs to this day are still being sung in churches all over the country, which just blows my mind. And I had nothing to do with that. I just did what Spirit asked me to do creatively and let it just roll with it. I didn't even have to ask for any of this. It was just so beautiful. And the next thing I know, there was this big mix-up with my friend David Alt, who's this wonderful songwriter, been writing for years, New Thought material. He was doing the conference for the Centers for Spiritual Living in California, and he thought I was coming to the conference, and this friend of ours, now friend, had mistaken and mistakenly told him that I was coming. All I told her was that I want to look at this conference and see if I should go. I didn't even know anything about it. I just heard about it. And she went to him and said, oh my God, this musician's coming. And he said, we've heard some of the songs and they're really good. We should put him on the stage here. And there's like 1,500 people in this place. So he calls me and says, like, what time are you arriving? I'm like, who is this? Is this like a prank call? He's like, this is David Alden, the music director for the Silver Conference. When are you getting here? I was like, what's going on? Like, who is this? I really didn't know. I hung up on him. Fortunately, he called me back and said, well, you're on the program for the international conference for the Centers for Spiritual Living. I'm like, what? What? He said, yeah. He said, I've heard some of your music. I'm like, what? How did this happen? And I said, I'm not going, and I hung up again. Well, that night I, was sitting there and I was so curious about how it was going to happen. And so I made an agreement with God or Spirit or Uncle Charlie, whatever you want to call it. And I said, you know what? If I can get a flight from Nashville out to San Jose, California, which you would travel to get to this beautiful conference place close to Pebble Beach, I said, if I can get a flight for under $200 round trip, I'll go. Now, this was like 2 weeks before, so I knew that wasn't going to happen. It's going to be expensive then. I called him, and this is before we did it online, and the operator said, oh, we've got a special to San Jose. $98 one way. So it's $199 round trip. I can't tell you what I said. Little did I know when I got there and those 1,500 people who were mostly ministers and music directors saw me, I was booked for 2 entire years. The next thing I knew, my life became a traveling minister of music, and I got to travel all over the world, everywhere from Canada, all over the States. I went as far as Ukraine and Russia. And what I'm saying is, like, I had nothing to do with that. I listened to the creative voice within me that gave me the next step. And I began to realize this great creative genius within me, I needed to access it more because that was what was guiding my life. Because many times we shut that off. Now, when I talk about creativity, I'm not meaning like you have to be a singer or a painter or songwriter. I'm talking about the creativity that you use to literally paint your life. And how Spirit has something beautiful and wonderful for you to do, but many of us are afraid to take the step and do it. Okay? And yesterday we talked in depth about that whole process, about how sometimes you have to take chances and sometimes you have to hear something crazy. You're told something crazy to do. And are you willing to take the steps to listen to that creative genius that is within you? And so I'm gonna start closing, and so my guys get ready to come up. I was going to tell you one of the things we talked about, and this is a very important thing I think for all of us to listen to. Many times your creative impulses that come from Spirit have nothing to do with your area of expertise, okay? And this is what I mean. I've always thought that if I ever became a millionaire or sold a bunch of stuff, and it's not so much about the money, it's about just expressing into the world, that it would be through a hit song, because I've been a songwriter now for 30-something years. Professionally, I thought, some big artist will record my song, it'll get on the radio, and I'll buy a house in Tahiti and wherever, and blah, blah, blah. And but that limited me. That limited me to think that's the only way it was going to come. And so recently, and I shared this with them yesterday, I had this crazy idea, and I'm going to follow through with it, even after thinking about it for about 3 months. And I want you guys to hold me accountable to it. I was sitting in New Orleans, and I had just walked down Barbara Street, and I saw voodoo dolls, and then I went home, I was doing my spiritual practice, and the thought came to me, why don't you do a healing voodoo doll and call it a Gree doll, which is a really well-known Cajun word that has something to do with grace, and make it a prayer doll. So instead of sticking it and making someone feel bad or get a headache or get a toothache or whatever, you have a doll that looks like a voodoo doll, but it's immersed in prayer. And instead of praying with someone verbally, you would write their name on a little thing and stick it, in them, and it would be for healing or for prosperity or for great relationships. Now that just seems crazy to me. But as I've told this idea to people, everyone I've told said, that's a great idea. Do it. And I even had someone in Atlanta who I accidentally ran into who is in the doll making business. I didn't tell this to you guys. The same guy, this is crazy, David Ault, his husband, Ty, works for Mattel. And he's a good friend of mine. Can't make this stuff up. And so I'm going to do it. And the reason I'm telling this story, who knows what's really going to happen? I have no expectations. I'm just going to do it. Is that our creative genius sometimes comes through a way unexpectedly. So we have to stay open to that. Because everyone in this room is a creative genius. You are. You really, really are. I mean, if you don't listen to me, listen to Einstein. If he said everyone is a creative genius, then you really, really are. Now, these folks yesterday, so you guys start coming up. Let me get my group up here. I tricked these people yesterday because I told them we were going to do a project, and I didn't tell them what it was going to be. And you okay, Rich? You got that? Okay, we're going to move. We're going to shift a few things around here. It's kind of like Glee Club up here now. We're going to put this mic up here, and if you guys could maybe space out, well, not space out that way, but space out some so that they can see lyrics, because we're going to have you guys sing along. I tricked these people into writing a song yesterday. We completely wrote lyrics and music and practiced in 1 hour. And the purpose of this exercise was, one, to show that, yes, you are creative, and secondly, how fast creativity can unfold. Just how fast it can happen. Were you guys, were you surprised? We hadn't talked about this. Were you surprised when I said we're going to write a song after we got? So what I did, I just had them write thoughts about themselves. I said, write something beautiful about yourself or a friend, or just write something that you're grateful for or whatever. I just had them write a bunch of lines. And when we got together, there was enough material of the same idea from everyone to put into the song. So a song just formed creatively from this group of people through the synergy of our hearts and through the connection of ourselves for this beautiful song to come out called Presence is Everywhere. And so I told them, I said, not only are we going to write it, but you have to face all your fears and we're going to sing it for everybody on Sunday morning. So just to show you an example of creativity, I mean, I don't think, except Dean maybe, I don't think any of these people consider themselves a songwriter up to this point. Have you written? Yeah. And yes, I know Ingrid has. And I just met Ingrid, by the way, so thank you for joining us today. She was her first time at Unity yesterday, and Deb brought her along. Well, besides this group, I'm happy that you've written your first song. So it's still a tiny bit rough around the edges, and I told them, I said, anytime that I write a song, I edit it for at least a week or so and just keep working on it. But I think it's pretty good so far. And I told Barry, I'm going to write out the chords for him. It's so young. This song is not even a day old. it's still in swapping clothes. I told him this morning that I'm going to give him the lyrics, so maybe you guys can even continue to sing this when I'm not here. I don't have to be here for you to sing it, because all of us are the writers of it. So I'm going to get over here and get myself ready. And if you notice, there's some lyrics up here. These are the first beginning lyrics of the song, and then there's going to be some more stuff that you hear, and then when we get back around to it, I'd like for you to join in. And I'm just going to, this little part I'm going to teach to you really quick is so easy. It's presence is everywhere, presence is everywhere. So we're going to rehearse this with them, so you guys talk amongst yourselves. So everybody in the congregation, when we get to the chorus, we go like this. Presence is everywhere. See how simple? Do it again with me. Presence is everywhere. One more time. Presence is everywhere. God, that's so beautiful. Listen again. Presence is everywhere. So when we get to that part, you guys are going to sing with us for sure, and maybe you can catch on to some of the lyrics that you're seeing up on the stage. So isn't this cool? Like this song just materialized. And by the way, you guys can keep doing this. You can get to a point where every song that you sing during your service is written by someone from this congregation. There's no reason why that can't happen. I mean, you can throw in a Jack Fowler one every now and then, but anyway, so this is the debut of the song, Presence is Everywhere. It's not even out of its bassinet yet. But when we come to that beautiful part, just take it into your heart and realize that there is a truth in this song, that presence is everywhere. There is one power and one life, as our principle says. So are you guys ready? In the sound that is silence we live. In the ground that is present we live. Life is always there for me. Love is always here with me. Presence is everywhere. Sing along with us. Presence is everywhere. The very real sight of the word in my mind. Manifest before my eyes. For I am a created life. You are a created life. Presence is everywhere. Presence is everywhere. Let's keep doing that a couple times. It's so pretty. Presence is everywhere. Once more. Presence is everywhere. I am this presence. I am a miracle, and I want to be this presence in someone else's life. I want to share this life. Presence is everywhere. Presence is everywhere. Do that again. Presence is everywhere. Once more. Presence is everywhere. We're going to repeat that first part, which is up on the screen, so you can sing with us if you'd like. In the sound that is silence we live. In the ground that is present we live. Life is always there for me. Love is always here with me. Presence is everywhere. On and on and on and on. Presence is everywhere. All right.
Excellent.
And I'd like you guys to stay on the front row because you're going to join me again for another quick song. So stay close by as we continue to move through our service. So once again, let's give these guys a hand for creating this beautiful song, to looking at their creative genius selves. So thank you for so much. Like I said, we just have a little tweaking to do on that middle part, but we'll get there. And you guys did awesome, and thank you all for singing along. So remember that you are a creative genius. I do love you hard, 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 I swear to God. And thank you so much for having me today. Namaste. Oh, we're going to roll right into this. Okay, we'll come back up then. Let's go. Come back up. I thought we were doing something between. You guys come on back up real quickly. Since we're starting a little choir here, just temporarily placed. Yeah, so why don't we do Holy Holy, then we can go into prosperity. Let's do it. We'll switch things around. We're open and flexible and creative. Okay, so I asked them to sing along. Since this song is a group song, it's a call and response that is so easy to sing along with. Dear sweet friend Ricky Byers Beckwith from Los Angeles. A holy, holy way. Let me live, and let me love, and let me serve in a holy, holy way. So some of you know it. So let's all stand together as we sing together. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. A little different here. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Do that again. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy, and let me live. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy. Let's serve. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.